Rethinking Possible is a presentation of Covenant Exchange in partnership with RareGem Productions, hosted on the Inspiration Networks of OneRareGem.com. Uniquely positive. Learn more at OneRareGem.com.
Hey, what's going on? It's Nicci Roach, and you are tuned into Rethinking Possible. I am just delighted. You have no idea how long. I'm going to have to give her a shout out. Jade Hurwell and I with RareGem Productions have been working on this project behind the scenes. And when I say years, I mean years. It's been more than 5 years we have been working. We've renamed it, went back to the former name, came back to a different name, and just let the universe lead and guide us and the timing to be right. And the timing is now right. So you are here with us, a dream come true. And we just getting started, okay? And helping us get started in the studio with us, Nicci Schnoebelen, Imbs. And I am beyond excited that we have this moment, this intimate time together. I met Nicci a few months ago through a mentor, or I should even say sponsor. And she felt that we just had to meet each other. When we met at a coffee shop in St. Louis, Missouri, it was as if I had took out some time to catch up with like my a girlfriend that I hadn't seen in years, who too found her footing, I would say, and what seemed to be a moment of transition. It was a moment really of transfer into her destiny, if I could just be transparent. And I am so excited about what is happening with STL Polished. And that's her company that she has launched after coming out of corporate for more than 20 years as an executive and found herself having to recreate. So I'm really looking forward to you hearing Nicci's story, and you'll get a chance to do that. So we'll be right back.
One thing could throw you completely off balance.
Speaking as an individual with a mental illness, when you get up in the morning, you can start off having a very bad day. It can just take a small thing, and it affects everything you do for that day. And possibly you might miss a medication, or take it too late. That causes problems. You might not feel well otherwise, and that affects your mental health. It might be raining, and that affects your mental health. So all the things that other people kind of take for granted, people with mental illness struggle with.
But it doesn't have to take you down. Take it on, one piece at a time. Take 5.
And some of the keys to success with that is that you have to learn about your predictable, and yes, they are predictable emotional responses. You have to educate yourself, and we have to restore balance in our lives when this happens.
Be determined to bounce back. Take care of your mental health just like you would anything else. Be alive and well. Find out more about what you can do to bounce back. Go to aliveandwellstl.com.
RareGem Productions proudly presenting the positive.
So, Nicci, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Nicole. This has been like the highlight of my day. I'm so excited.
Yes. And we've been chatting back and forward to try and get reconnected after that first connection. Mm-hmm. And I think we're still kind of on a high from that. But
well, you're right. And you spoke earlier about how we met for coffee and we just connected. It's like being old friends from college. Yeah. We just, and we were just getting to know each other.
For the first time, right?
Yes. And that just goes to show you, quite frankly, how when you meet two people who are driven and kind and pay it forward and want to help others, the connection just is seamless. It just is there. And so that's how I felt. And I know you felt that way too. So I'm just thrilled to be here and to help others kind of empower them and share my story.
Yes. And speaking of your story, let's just start. You had more than 20 years in corporate and then found yourself in a moment of transition.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
I laugh because I feel like my whole life, quite frankly, has been a moment of transition for one reason or another. And, we've heard the phrase life is a journey and, you're going to have your curves and, detours and things like that. And honestly, I think it's the purpose really of my journey. It hasn't been a straight road.
And who wants that anyway? Right?
No, but some people have that and they're afraid to get off the exit and make a switch. So, some things happened to me that really wasn't on my, my roadmap, so to speak. But I look back and it all has helped me really be what I'm supposed to be doing and doing what, what is my purpose in life.
Right.
So yeah, just to give you a little snippet of my background, I was raised in a middle-class family. There were 6 of us. And, my dad had his own business and, things were tough. And, trying to get us all through college. I remember jokingly, hearing my mom say, oh boy, we've got, 3 tuition bills on the MasterCard, and this is not good. But, you make it work somehow and it all works out. But, so I went off to the University of Missouri, Columbia, and knowing all along that I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a Irma Bombeck. That was my ultimate goal. And so, I graduated from J school with my head, bigger than most because they feed you these just the egos like you can conquer the world. Right. You're a J school grad.
And J school is up there with MBA,
Exactly.
So, yeah.
It's like you're feeling that confident and honestly a little green. But when you have that confidence, you kind of you take over, I can, carve out the world and work for the New York Times. So, I had an internship at the Dallas Morning News. I found myself writing for fashion. I was interviewing Bill Blass and Frank Olive and Mary McFadden, Xander Rhodes, all these great designers. And I'm 19, 20 years old?
Living the life.
Living the life. So upon graduation, I was working at St. Louis Magazine as a, editorial assistant. Back in the day, we didn't have all the technology as we have today. So I was proofing the boards by hand. And, I'm dating myself, but, hey, we've made progress since then. And, I'm going to be completely transparent here. I want to share a little nugget about myself. Remember, I was this driven, ambitious person, and I was going to eventually conquer, the New York Times and be on their writing staff. But I started dating, and lo and behold, Nancy had a detour. She had an unexpected pregnancy. Mm-hmm. I had an unexpected pregnancy. And it really took me for a loop. And I say this, it took me years to really share this with people because, I'm an honor student. I'm got this fabulous internship. I don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was a mistake because it certainly wasn't. She's 29 now and I'm helping to celebrate her upcoming wedding. It's all good.
Yay.
But when you're 22 years old and you're not prepared to have a child, it really threw me. And so I went through this little, I'm going to call it a pit stop, a very good pit stop. And I took 16 years off of my career. Now remember, I was really this powerhouse. I was so driven. But the pregnancy really took me back. And I was 9 months pregnant when I married my husband. And because we didn't want to get married for the sake of having a child. Mm-hmm. And we got married and he was traveling in his business all the time. And we were living in New York City. I did get to New York City, by the way. And he, was living the dream. He was an investment banker and he was in London and back and forth. And it set me back emotionally. I loved my daughter, but I felt a void.
Wow. That's being honest.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And it's hard, it's hard. And I watched all my friends climb the proverbial ladder into their success. And, I don't know what it was, but I honed my skills through a lot of volunteer work. And when we moved back to St. Louis, which is home for both of us, I got involved with the Junior League and I was their editor. And it sort of to kind of help gain that confidence that was lacking.
Okay.
And so I have to admit, it was that fire in my belly that it was like little embers. And then the blaze started to become an inferno. I was ready. Yeah. I don't know what it was. So I had 2 children after my oldest daughter came. And, I look back and, again, and I don't want to make this goofy, but it was something, that I had to settle within myself. Right. So I was ready to go back to work. My marriage was dissolving. And after 16 years of, being the perfect stay-at-home mother, I entered the workforce and I was driving around and I hear this radio ad from Edward Jones saying, we are having a job fair and anybody should apply. And so I remember calling my husband at the time saying, I think I'm going to give this a shot. I think I can do this, but what do I wear? I don't even own a suit. And my ex was like, oh, just wear nice slacks and a blouse. You'll be fine. So off I went to the job fair at Edward Jones, and there were a line of people into the parking lot. I mean, we're talking hundreds of people, by the way, in suits and briefcases.
And you have on your blouse and socks.
Yeah,
slacks, right?
Yeah. Feeling totally, and I was nervous. And I had this one-page resume that, I'm trying to endorse myself and advocate and shine. But all I did was volunteer work and my little internship and my stint at St. Louis Magazine. I was the last one to leave the job fair. I was totally engaged. It felt like I was talking about the fire in the belly that it definitely ignited. And, I left my resume there and things work. You're back on track. I received a call from Edward Jones. I'm going to say a month later. I got hired. I started, as I said, after 16 years staying at home with the kids, but still utilizing my skills. I worked in their investment communications department, and that gave me, all the confidence I needed. Everything came back. And I share this because I was so driven. I had seen my friends, and this is a lesson that I've learned. You should not make everything about, what your friends are doing. And if they're at this salary and you're way behind, it's not about that. It's your own course.
It's true. And then oftentimes you'll find that not all of them are where you really think they are. And they wish they had a chance to think out or to process or to soul search.
Exactly.
To operate in their purpose.
Exactly.
You're just working.
And you're right. It's a shield. People are, I mean, I'm not, like you said earlier, I've been in the workforce now for, in the corporate space for over 25 years. And you see that, it's almost like they act like they're engaged. In fact, there's a recent Gallup poll out today, or not today, but it's a fairly recent Gallup poll that suggests 70% of the American workforce is disengaged, unhappy, undervalued, unappreciated.
Right, because we have been so conditioned to find a job, you work that job, you work it until you get your rocking chair, and then you retire.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't.
And that's one thing as we continue our conversation that I truly, truly adore and celebrate you for, because you could have gone back into corporate.
Right. And I think having that experience of that unexpected pregnancy showed me that, you know what, Nancy, you are strong. You listen to you.
Right.
You didn't listen to a whole host of people that gave you different suggestions. You followed your heart.
Right.
You followed what you felt was right. And so, now that I'm starting my own business, yes, it's risky. You don't know what it will bring. You take the leap and you hope the net will be there, right? But you have to trust yourself.
Yes.
And so all my experiences in the corporate world and seeing, and I say this respectfully, the good, the bad, the ugly,
right,
in terms of people skills, soft skills, emotional intelligence, whatever you want to call it, people need help.
Yes.
And I have been blessed. We all have our talents.
Yes.
And I have been blessed with the ability to make people comfortable, to bring out the best, to empower them. And so my business is all about personal empowerment. And I know, I've got etiquette in there and leadership skills, but really at the end of the day, it's about personal empowerment.
Yes.
And whatever that means to them helps them grow and become more successful, whether it's in their personal life or their professional life.
So do you think that you're being empowered even the more as you facilitate different sessions?
Great question. And you know what? I have to think about that because, it excites me. It empowers me when I see somebody successful. Now, I have to give you two short little stories. So I recently delivered a workshop to a privately held national company here in St. Louis. They have offices and
congratulations.
Thank you. And by the way, this company is owned by a woman and she took a chance on me. I went in and I sold myself and I think she saw authenticity.
Yes.
She saw sincerity. She saw empathy. She got it. She was just a woman who is starting her own business and has grown to be a huge success. So anyway, I delivered this presentation to her executive team. And it was all about communication skills. And what are the different communication styles with people? That's huge. What is your body language saying? What is your posture saying, for Lord's sake? So I talked to her, and then, I left to a standing ovation, to high fives. Mamie felt great. But I do want to, and then just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, I'm sorry, the days are just meshing. I delivered a workshop, a not-for-profit organization called St. Louis ARC, and they have developmental disabilities. And this was about social skills.
Okay.
We talked about communicating at a luncheon, and we talked about how do you handle yourself? What are great communication topics? Now, I've shared these two stories because one of them was very, we're talking, postgraduate degrees, hugely successful in their careers. And the other audience was people with developmental disabilities, but were independently living. And what the point was, I saw the smiles on their faces. I wasn't teaching rocket science here. I was teaching, your people skills, which I like to call smart skills. And what I saw were the same smiles on both faces from both presentations.
That's nice.
They get it. They're people. We're all people. And we're all human. And it's a learned skill. The saying, leaders are not born, they're made.
Right.
Well, that's what this is. We learn. I was not born with the silver spoon in my mouth. I went through my career mimicking, taking mental notes, trying to do the right thing because I wanted to be, that polished person who's going to soar in her career.
And it's interesting, your past experiences, because I'm finding this out and I have a different attitude toward any assignment that I may find myself involved in, and whoever the audience is or the project is. Mm-hmm. You have no idea how that moment is grooming you for where you're going next. And often you will hear people say, oh, I hate doing this, or I'm not, I can't wait till this is over. No, embrace those moments.
Yes.
Even if it's people getting on your nerves, embrace the moment, because there is something being developed, whether it be your patience, whether it be you understanding how to work with someone who may not be the same as you. And that's okay, because when you're talking about rethinking possible, it is not about you being comfortable. You've shared a number of different things that you've gone through, but all those things brought you back to where you are now, where you totally have planted your feet and said, this is my purpose.
Yes.
But had you done anything different, who knows? I truly believe you would have gotten here, but maybe you would have been too late.
Well, and that's the thing. It's so funny that we talk about this because so many people have a passion. It's buried inside them. The fire's there, but we've been
conditioned to live by defaults. And it's like
you take the safe road all the time. And honestly, at the end of the day, when we are sitting on that rocking chair on the front porch having our lemonade,
after 35 years somewhere, right?
Maybe a little vodka in that lemonade. But when we're sitting there, okay, we will have a regret. We will, because we didn't take the chance.
Yes.
We're doing it now as we age. And I I love to talk to the young ones, the millennials. In fact, this is a challenge because, they have such a different mindset about working.
And commitments and loyalty and what it means even to work.
Exactly.
Their definition is totally different. Well, and I'm in the middle, I feel.
It's so interesting, too, because I was just having this conversation. So funny that we're even touching on this, is that millennials are now managing some baby boomers.
Because now this is, so in my Women in Leadership and Management course that I teach, I was sharing them. I did one night just on generational diversity and understanding that, because if you are a leader, you have to understand that the whole concept of what being in the workforce means is something different for every generation. And we have now, I think it's this summer, where you'll get the first wave of Gen Z, which is 15 and 16.
Yes.
So now you're going to have 5 generations. And you talk about the services that polished offers.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to mean something so different to each of those groups.
Yeah. And therein lies the challenge, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
No, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm a baby boomer and I'm witnessing, you know, through my children, through the workforce, through, you know, oh my gosh, articles you read, whatever. There needs to be an education. Not so much for, you know, for everybody. It's a team effort, if you will, because, you know, my attitude could be bent out of shape if I'm, you know, and I've experienced it. But then again, I applaud the gumption and the assertiveness of a millennial, whereas I probably would just sit there and do my work and stay late because it's the deadlines. Yeah. And they're like, well, I'll get to it when I got a yoga class.
Right.
Yeah. I got
So I want to take us back just to something that you mentioned earlier that I think we miss out on as we begin to launch our dreams and find ourselves in purpose. You talked about, yes, having a team. I am a firm believer you cannot do anything alone. Mm-hmm. Then you also mentioned there was a organization that is led by a woman who gave you a chance. Mm-hmm. Why is it, or what is, I know, let me just be transparent. Mm-hmm. Having a conversation with a group of ladies after a panel event that was recently had a couple months ago. And one of the issues that came up, and let me put this in context, it was a women of color panel discussion, some of the barriers, some of the challenges that we work with. And we find oftentimes we can't come together to work, not understanding whatever that gift is that God has given you. You can do it in excellence. I may try to do it and I can pull it off, but that's not for me. And what you're doing, Nancy, yes, I may be able to fake it till I make it, but I still won't have the effect, the impact that you will have.
Well, I beg to differ, but that's a whole nother interview, right?
Tell me, go back to the woman who, the female business owner who gave you a chance, because we don't say that if it's a male who's owning a company, but you deliberately mentioned that.
I know.
What has been your experience as a female?
It's so interesting. Okay, so I'm going to reverse. Okay, we're on the road again and we're going in reverse. When I interviewed at the Edward Jones job fair, I'm sorry, I didn't interview. I left my resume there, you know, with the hope that somebody would call me. It wouldn't just be with the sea of resumes. And as I mentioned, I received a postcard saying, we have your resume. We'll keep it on file. And then I got that phone call from thin air that you're just walking on, you know, air because you're so excited. So I went on multiple interviews and ultimately I got this job and it was a woman. And I said, Joan, I'm indebted to you. You know, thank you for taking a chance on me. And she said, you know what, Nancy, I'm just going to be gut honest here. I had a stack of resumes this high and she was holding, you know, like it was a pile of resumes who were much more qualified than you were because of their experience. But you resonated with me. I'm a mother. You're a mother.
Wow.
I wanted to give you a break because I got it. You know, I got it. And so that spoke volumes because you don't, and I don't want to make this a sexist, you know, men and women thing, but it's reality. It's reality. We juggle and we nurture and we feel guilty and we try to do it all.
Yes.
We want to be the perfect everything for our spouse, our children, our boss. But honestly, there is a double standard there, I feel. You know, it is what it is. I mean, we've read the book by Sheryl Sandberg, Lean In, The Confidence Code. I mean, all these books speak to that. You know, I don't want to get on a pulpit and say that, you know, men aren't empowering women because I do think that they are in their own, you know, but there is still that little glass ceiling that we, you know, haven't been able to really tap into for the majority of women. I mean, there are very, very successful women out there, but if you compare them, you know, to the male workforce population, there is a disparaging number. But, you know, I don't know, you know, and I've worked for great men too. So I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to put myself in this sexist discussion.
Because I have 3 mentors / sponsors. And I think I challenge all the people that I talk to, or whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting, find at least 3 and keep 3 at all times. 1, same sex, same race. 1, different race, different culture. The other, opposite sex. Mm-hmm. You would be amazed the information. And this is a whole nother show, what you will get from that person that's the opposite sex, because you don't realize how you see through a different lens when it comes to confidence, when it comes to leaning in, when it comes to raising your hand. Yeah. So there is really a difference. And it's not so much, one's better than the other. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, there is a difference and there's much to be learned from one another. Right.
No, I totally agree. In fact, one of the offerings I do is, and it's both, for both men and women. And I haven't really done a lot of one-on-one with men. I have done that with women, but is that, and this is just my perception when I'm talking to a group, I notice through their body language that men are not as receptive to what I'm saying than women are.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting. Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because they already know it and I'm wasting their time? I don't know. But I think it's interesting. I mean, you're right. Totally right, Nicole, that there are, standards out there, it seems like, where men, they're more accepted, if you will, on their business practices. And women's, we have to work a little harder. Whether it's negotiating for a raise or a new job or getting on a board, whatever it is, it just seems to be a bit more of a challenge. And I hope we can fix that. I think we are going in the right direction. We've got great women leaders, not only in St. Louis, but throughout the country who are great advocates for women's success. So.
Yes. Now, speaking of success, let's jump into Polished.
Okay.
STL Polished. Tell us what you do, who you are, and I'll ask another question afterwards because I want to know, what is it that you would have done different now that you're in?
Okay. Oh, boy. Golly. So you're giving me a lot of homework here.
So tell us first who you are, what you do.
Okay. Well, I am an entrepreneur. Okay. I've taken the leap. And so what I'm doing, I'm using all my skill sets, all my experiences, all my talents, and I'm helping people become more successful. Wonderful. Through the development or enhancement, like we're brushing up their soft skills. And what are soft skills? Well, soft skills are there's studies out there, quite frankly. The soft skills are your people skills. And when you go through interviews now, your technical skills, yes, they're hugely important. But to grow, to be more empowered, and to be more of a leader, companies now pick your soft skills. They'll choose that over your technical skills.
Yes, because I am a true example of someone being watched because of character, as well as the soft skills and how to have it may be small, but it's still a level of influence. You can teach someone a job. And a lot of people, because now I sit on a lot of, search committees every now and then, and it's like, well, I have all the skills. Why did I not get? It's bigger than skill set.
Trust me.
And the higher you go, it's not about yes, if you're even considering, you have to have the skill set. So we're not looking for skill set at this point. We're looking at,
can you get along well with others?
Yes.
Can you collaborate? Can you be a brand ambassador when you're outside the company doors?
Can you be trusted? Can you gain trust from others?
Yes.
Those are the things.
Yes. Well, it's interesting too, because, you were saying they are, people are either outgoing or more reserved. That does not, people don't hold that against you if you're an extrovert or an introvert, right? That's just where you are. But you can still have people skills, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And you're right. People now, schools, universities, colleges all throughout the country are integrating or initiating these soft skill programs into their curriculum because they realize that, companies, you have to be that engineer. You have to, that left brain's needed, but we need that right brain, to work just as hard. So I help develop that from people. And one of the things that I notice that makes a great leader is empathy, having empathy.
Yeah.
So the empathy factor, it's kind of that slippery slope. Well, should I talk to my colleague in a way that is not so professional? Yes. There is that line we always have to maintain, but to have that empathy factor is a key leadership quality, to have courage to do the right thing when it's kind of going against the grain.
Calculated risk.
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's not something you do, and I'm sure because what you're doing with your services at Polished, it is critical to understand it. These are things that you do when you get the job.
Mm-hmm.
These are things you do to be noticed for the job you didn't even know you wanted.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and you talk about being disengaged in the workforce with Americans being so unhappy. You know, it's because sometimes things get buried. You know, you're working on the deadline all the time and you're trying to meet budget, or you've got, you know, your margin, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's time, I think, for companies and individuals to take a seat back and think about, you know, why am I not happy at this job? Why am I not my personal life happy? You know, there could be reasons. Maybe it's your communication style. Maybe it's the way you're presenting yourself, you know, in and outside an organization that's, you know, rubbing people the wrong way, your posture, your body language, whatever that is. And, you know, I'm not the only one in town who does this. And when I started, you know, you kind of learn a little bit. So when I started my business, it was all about, you know, business etiquette. And then I thought, you know what? I don't like that word etiquette. Yeah. It's off-puttish to me.
Interesting.
You know, it really is. And I like personal empowerment, personal enrichment, because really that's what we're doing in life. You know, I always said to my children growing up, if you could learn something, I don't care what it is. If you put your head on the pillow at night before you go to bed and you learn something that day, that's a win. That is a win.
Wonderful.
And so, you know, helping somebody grow and be better, become a better person, whether it's them feeling that they can write a professional letter or a thank you note without sounding like it's your typical form, you know, letter or form thank you note. That's little, but that helps them grow and that expands their, you know,
because that goes a long
opportunities.
Way.
Yeah. And they're,
yeah. So now having been in the industry for a little bit and you have built your brand in this new capacity, what would you do different or have done different now that you know what you know?
That's a great question, Nicole. You know, I like to think I'm always evolving. And as a business owner, we have to. We always have to stay ahead of the curve, you know, because, you know, we want to be able to offer or provide the latest, not only the techniques, but, you know, something that's modern and ongoing. I don't want to be, you know, staid and outdated. So I don't know. I mean, what would I do different? I guess, you know, the etiquette word I use, it sounds so silly.
At the beginning.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here thinking that over, and etiquette, I can see how it could have a negative or off-putting connection to it, considering it's like, okay, no, it's a right and a wrong way to do something. Yes, there are some things we do need to be polished about, but then there are things it's not so much. I think once, as you mentioned, once you're empowered, those things will come.
Absolutely.
But it's not, I'm going to come in and spank your hand.
Yeah, it's beyond the fork and knife.
Yes,
okay, it's beyond the fork and knife. No, but I mean, let's face it. You know, we want to be able to know how to use those utensils when we're at a power lunch or, you know.
And now you're having to interview. You're doing interviews, but they take you to eat on purpose.
Exactly.
One, to see how you interact with the host. Sometimes they'll make sure you're there by yourself and see how wait.
These are all cues. Are they hiring the right candidate?
Yes.
No, it's so true. I have a story about that actually, where they, you know, the Boy Scouts, believe it or not, ended up not hiring somebody because they had their lunch and he was rude to the wait staff. And so, you know, that's a merit badge, respect, right? And so, yeah, you're absolutely right. These are huge, you know, important matters to know and to feel confident and empowered, because at the end of the day, really, when you're feeling good about yourself, when you have a great hair day, when you're wearing the power suit or whatever your outfit is for work and you feel good about yourself and you can articulate your message, it's all part of the grand plan. You know, it all points to success.
Yes. So having shared all that you've shared, and I am honored by your transparency today. And thank you. There's so many, we have constrained time, but there's so many. Yeah. I know there's so much that has come, even just from our first 10 minutes. It's like, I wanted to jump in and ask some more questions, but we'll come back to it. We'll have another opportunity. But there are some lessons that I know you've learned along the way. And rethinking possible, yes, that it's a space full of fear. But you can't allow fear to paralyze you. And my thing is, what we really want will make happen, no matter what.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yes. So go ahead.
It's true because I guess what I would say or what I would share with people.
Yeah, if you had a moment, and this is that moment, to share something with the world on rethinking possible. I mean, really rethinking possible. What is possible? Because we limit ourselves on a daily basis. What would that be?
I would tell people, if you're driving along that road, okay, whether you're in that career path, I love using these analogies, these metaphors for the road, the highway of success, right? No, but if you have this constant nagging inside you, that's a clue.
Yes.
That's a hint. That's your inner voice, so to speak, telling you, you know what? It's time to switch gears.
Yes.
You can do it. You can do it. I mean, I'm just a regular Nancy, and nobody has given me breaks except, what I work for. People want to help people.
Yes.
But you have to do it, right? You have to pick yourself up and you have to start. And once you do that and you make a good, solid effort, you would be surprised. People don't want you to fail.
And they will come to your aid in a way like never before. And I'm finding that out. But again, being comfortable.
It's that, you're right. It's getting out of the comfort zone. Yeah. Yes. Which is so huge. So huge.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Even myself, how we're here today.
It's so true.
Is
the irony
step
of
out.
it. Right. And to have our stars align where we're here meeting each other. Because, that's what life is about, too, is taking chances. Like you said, calculated risks. You want to be prudent. You want to make the right ones. Right. And sometimes, you fail, but okay, to fail is to succeed, That's all part of your journey.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to go, to your, not to end on a morbid note, to your deathbed feeling regrets, whether it's, doing the right thing or taking a risk that will allow you to really fulfill a passion is something that you should strive to do no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you help people strive for their place and purpose, how is it that people can contact you? Where can they find you?
Well, that's very sweet of you because I didn't want this to be a sales pitch at all. I just wanted to share.
Did we not say we're here to help one another?
Oh, well, bless your heart, Nicole.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
This is iron sharpening iron moment right here.
Well, the name of my company, as you said, is called Polished, and my website is www.stlpolished.com, and my email is nancy@stlpolished.com. And my phone, if you care to call me, and I'd love to speak with you, is 314-799-7851. And, I have this tagline that I use in a lot of my presentations and talks, and even on my business card is you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And really, whether it's just a simple handshake at a networking event or trying to get that job, it matters. Your smart skills matter. And so I just feel so fortunate to just be able to talk and to kind of, share my passion and drive in helping others. So thank you so much, Nicole.
You are so welcome. And I know that you mentioned it's stlpolish.com is the website.
Yes.
But do know there are no barriers.
Nope.
Wherever you are in the world, we can get Nancy to you.
Oh.
Yes.
We're just a phone call away,
yes,
guys.
We can get her
we're
to you.
Just an email away or a phone call.
Yes.
Yeah, or a plane ride, right?
Right. Or, hey, we have all this technology around here.
You got
we
it.
Can make it happen.
Webinar, you bet. Yeah.
No, see, this is how new ideas are birthed, right? So, Nancy, thank you so much for spending
pleasure.
time.
Well, thank you. And thank you for letting me share a little bit of my story because really the whole impetus about this is that everybody has talents.
Yes.
Everybody has a gift. And I want to help people with their gifts. I really, really do. I'm not saying that. We all deserve to be happy.
Yes.
And so if there's a need.
And no one can do that for you but you.
That's what you said it better than I did, but that's the whole thing. So go for your dreams, shoot for the stars, and I wish you all the success.
Yes.
Thank you.
I wish you all the success. I already know we're going to cross paths soon.
You bet.
So thank you. You've just listened to the conversation with Nancy Schnoebelen, Imbs, and I with Polished. And make sure you reach out to her at www.stlpolished. That's with the ed.com. You can also reach her by email at nancy@stlpolished.com and get more information. Or, hey, you never know what may happen. want to thank you so much for listening to Rethinking Possible. We have had a wonderful time here. I also had a chance to get polished just a little bit since we've been in the studio. Want to thank Jade Harrell for all her assistance behind the scene and getting us all energized and pumped and amped for this debut. And we're just excited. So as you go on with life and you begin to search out those areas of purpose and walk in your purpose, I want you to make sure that you never forget it's not too late to rethink possible. Never too late. So I'll end with a quote, and then one of my favorites is, sometimes the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step of your life. Tiptoe if you must, but take the step. Remember, you already possess everything you...
Rethinking Possible is a presentation of Covenant Exchange in partnership with RareGem Productions. If you'd like to be on the show or have questions about any of our guests, please visit Nicci Roach at NicciRoach.com, NicciRoach.com. Rethinking Possible is another positive production of RareGem Productions. Thanks for listening.